Hi, so this is Terri-lyn here. The third piece we will be discussing in this presentation is the one by Dr. John Minnis. From all of our research about him, we could only find that he was an accredited professor in sociology and adult education at University College of the North in Nepaw, Manitoba, which serves a very large population of Native Canadian students. This is important because we were absolutely appalled by his white guy perspective, whether he actually is or not, we're not sure, in writing this article, and we decided to use his key points to launch our counter-arguments in the defense of decolonization. Basically, in his literature review, he highlights the beliefs held by Indigenous scholars and advocates that Aboriginal students are being failed by the school system because their culture and languages are underrepresented in curriculum and their voices are not heard at an organizational level. Yes, we've heard about this. However, he argues that if this is in fact the problem, then with the changes that have taken place in recent years to policies and educational systems in Canada, we should have already seen greater progress towards Aboriginal education attainment and success. He therefore believes that decolonization in education is not the answer and is in fact counterproductive to overcoming characteristics of neocolonialism, such as unemployment, institutional racism, and alienation. So he's not saying that there is no problem with Aboriginal education. He's just saying that decolonization is not the answer. But he gets infuriatingly opinionated, especially near the end, going so far as to call out an Aboriginal obsession with culture. It's almost as if he would like Aboriginals to get over the past so that they can continue their plight to better themselves. Specifically, Minnis argues that the current Eurocentric education system should not be adapted because its literacy levels and the academic credentials associated with it are globally valuable in, as he puts it, the real world, the way it is. In fact, this system is essential to democracy and the fight against unemployment and poverty. In making this argument, he fails to recognize any value that can be placed on Aboriginal teaching methods, many of which we've adopted into our Eurocentric education system under the guise of constructivism and other pedagogical terms that speak for guided learning, community building, self-regulation, and hands-on experience, all of which are being recognized as important globally. And who's to say that long and formal education can't include some of these key skills? We already know Northcott's doing it. Instead, he blames families for problems with Aboriginal academic achievement, neglecting to address that if there are broken support systems when it comes to perceptions of academics in Aboriginal communities, then we, the white people, only have ourselves and our history of residential schooling to blame. The other point I wanted to discuss is how Minnis does not believe that ethnicity can determine how you learn. This has been a topic of debate in Canada in the last decade or so, and not just surrounding Aboriginal education. He argues that rather than recognizing and allowing First Nations people to identify as such and healing their self-esteem through opportunities to make that identification within education, we should instead be helping Aboriginal students identify with the social groups of modern society, or they'll never be able to achieve success. However, the ideal he describes is valuable only to someone looking through a white lens. He's talking about making Aboriginal students competitive, something that Northcott students did not fully believe in. He's also talking about helping them identify with the melting pot of society, which is exactly what they, as a culture, have been trying to free themselves of. First Nations people in Canada have historically been forced to identify with modern society, which is what is essentially responsible for their low self-esteem with regards to their ancestral race today. Once again, he expects history and its effects to be overlooked in order to move forward and forget. Now, Mark is going to talk about a couple more of Minnis's key points that are equally frustrating.
Created using Powtoon.